guys, welcome to week 6 of the 8-week body transformation challenge. Hope you guys are still enjoying it, seeing great results, doing your best. So, your results will reflect the effort you put in. So make sure if you want really good results, you're putting in a really good amount of effort as well. Exercising each week and really making an effort to make nutritious meals so that you can feel your best. Alright guys, this week what I wanted to discuss is 2 other conditions or health concerns that will affect weight. So these ones specifically are more related to either gaining weight or the inability to shift weight easily. And yeah, basically that's what it's about. So these conditions are hypothyroidism, meaning your thyroid is struggling to work efficiently. So what happens there is your metabolism lowers, it affects your weight, and it affects a lot of other things that we will talk about soon. And also the other thing is hormonal imbalances, especially your estrogen dominance and menopause, which can show up very similarly. Okay. So how do we know if we have any thyroid conditions or concerns? What we would do is go and get some blood tests done. Your general test is your TSH, which is your thyroid stimulating hormone. Now from this, it isn't always clear that there is thyroid issues going on. So your TSH might be within normal ranges. However, if you went and got your T3, reverse T3 and your T4 checked, as well as thyroid antibodies, you might see then that there is thyroid issues going on. So sometimes just the TSH alone isn't enough to diagnose whether you have thyroid concerns or hypothyroidism, or even hyperthyroidism, which is the opposite to hypothyroidism. Okie doke. So, what does hypothyroidism look like? These are the signs and symptoms. I've got my little checklist so I don't forget anything. We have fatigue, so you'll really struggle with your energy levels. You'll have an increased sensitivity to cold or cold intolerance, so you'll really feel the cold very easily and you won't like it at all. You'll probably suffer with constipation or slowed bowel movements. Dry skin. With hypothyroidism, there's another little telltale sign that is often a sign that we can see when we're looking at someone, is they'll be missing their 1/3 of their eyebrow at the ends, okay? And hyperthyroidism, you can actually see the inner parts of the eyebrows are missing. Now, this isn't always the case, but generally when we're thinking, does this person have thyroid issues? And there are a lot of signs and symptoms along with those eyebrow things. We won't diagnose, but we'll go and say, go and get tested, okay? So it can be very genetic as well, having those sort of eyebrows, but generally it can be related to thyroid issues as well. So, another thing is weight gain. So you'll gain weight easily, maybe even rapidly. You might eat very few calories, but still really struggle to shift any weight. You might have a puffy face. You'll have hoarseness in your voice, so that's when that voice starts getting like a little bit deeper or croakier or horsey. You'll feel weakness in your muscles. You might have elevated cholesterol levels. You'll have muscle aches and pains and stiffness. You'll probably have irregular menses, so especially heavier menses or periods, in other words. You'll have thinning hair or hair loss, slowed heart rate. You might suffer with depression, so that's a very common trait in people who have low thyroid function is depression. Your cognition or your memory will deteriorate, or you'll notice like memory difficulties. and you might even have an enlarged thyroid or goiter, so you can see that there. When we do have hypothyroidism, one of the key things treatment-wise is to actually reduce your goitrogenic foods. Now you can think that you're being really super healthy by eating lots of green leafy veg and spinach and silver beet and almonds and broccoli, but these are actually goitrogenic foods, meaning they make your thyroid grow. So or enlarge your thyroid. When you don't have thyroid issues, these foods are not a concern at all, but when you do have thyroid issues, you do need to be mindful of how much goitrogenic foods you are eating, which is an interesting thing to take note of. Okay, so they're the signs and symptoms of thyroid or hypothyroid. If you feel like you do have any issues there, feel free to come and see me or go to the doctor, get a blood test, and then come and see me if you want to, because there are so many things that we can do to help treat thyroid function or support it. So our thyroid, our adrenals, and our hormones are all on the HPA axis. So what this means is if your adrenals are out, this is going to affect your thyroid. If your thyroid's out, this is going to affect your hormones. If your hormones are out, this will affect your adrenals and vice versa, okay? So it's really important that we actually support all of those things, but there are so many key nutrients and herbs that can help better the function of the thyroid. Okie doke guys, that is enough about thyroid. Next we'll talk about menopause. Menopause is a really big one that most women will find it's a struggle when they're trying to keep up their health and fitness because they're not seeing the results that they want to see, because things have slowed down due to the hormonal imbalances that go on with menopause. So how do we tell if we are going through menopause or if we have menopause? Firstly, there will be some differences in your cycle. So you might get your period a little less. It might be really sporadic. It might be here 1 month and then a couple of months later, or you might feel or might see that it's going for longer periods of time. It changes for each and every individual, but there will be an all of a sudden change in how your cycle occurs. Other signs and symptoms are hot flushes, obviously that's a big one, night sweats, fatigue. As you can see, fatigue will affect everything, is like a symptom of most conditions. You will have vaginal dryness, probably start seeing more digestive issues or concerns. You'll have a lower libido or sex drive. You'll probably get more mood swings, and I see this a lot with my menopausal clients, is that they really start to be quite moody and irritable. You may start even suffering with depression. You'll get headaches. You'll probably gain weight. You'll get a lot of breast soreness or tenderness. You might feel a hot mouth, start getting sore joints and weakness in your muscles. You might get dizzy spells. Thinner hair is another one. Again, more pins and needles, a lack of focus or concentration. You'll see sleep disturbances start happening. You might get urinary incontinence because the pelvic floor is getting weaker due to that change in hormones. And you might even see that around that time of cycle now as you are. So you can see when your hormones change, there is more, you can see a difference in your pelvic floor. You might find you have a different body odor or a stronger body odor. You might suffer with more panic attacks, and you'll have itchy skin probably, or dry skin, and your nails might start to go a little bit brittle. So again, if you start seeing lots of those signs and symptoms going on for you, make sure you go and get your hormones checked. Generally, the doctors like to check bloods. However, it's important to note that there's key times to get your bloods tested if you're doing bloods. And another great way to get your hormones more accurately tested is actually through saliva tests, which I can do through a testing company that I go through when I do need those more in-depth test results and test findings. Okay, but again, you want to get it at a certain time of your cycle, which can be difficult if you're already experiencing cycle changes where you're not getting it, every 28 days anymore. Okay, next, so that's menopause. Again, there's a lot we can do for menopause. Essential fatty acids is a really, really key one. Most of us are lacking in omega-3s and essential fatty acids because we don't have enough of the good fats in our diet. So we're not eating enough fish and salmon, or chia seeds, hemp seeds, and flax seeds. So it's very limited in the sources that you can actually get your omega-3 fatty acids from, but they make a huge difference into how you're feeling with your brain function, your cognition, your hormonal health, your skin, your moods. So essential fatty acids are really a key nutrient here, especially for hormonal imbalances and skin concerns too. Now, there are also hormonal modulating herbs that we could use to help support your hormones through this. There are, once we get that testing done, if we see that, you're high estrogen or too low estrogen, we can do things to specifically help to increase or lower estrogen, testosterone if that's an issue for you. And yeah. PCOS is another one, or polycystic ovarian syndrome is another hormonal imbalance, and I didn't write notes for this one, but what you can see there is maybe more facial acne, more facial hair. You'll have insulin sensitivity, which will contribute to weight gain or the inability to easily shift weight. And you might get painful periods as well. So there's lots of different things that you can experience with PCOS, but there's also lots of things that we can, again, do to help support you through that and regulate your hormones as to how they should be. And one of the key things to take note here is if your nutrition is off, it's going to affect your hormones negatively. So your body needs these key essential nutrients for it to function efficiently and well and healthily. When we're not getting those nutrients, you'll start to see problems in your body, and that could affect your hormones, it can affect your weight, it can affect your moods, it can affect everything, okay? So just really, again, just to reiterate, nutrition is key here, all right? Lastly, another hormonal issue that we see often is high estrogen or estrogen dominance. When we see this, typically you'll be the person who gets really sore, tender breasts or swollen boobs, especially around that time of the month. You'll have heavier periods, maybe even prolonged periods. You might have lumpy breasts or fibrocystic lumps in your breasts. That's more of a high estrogen thing. You'll probably feel bloated and have fluid retention. Your periods could be irregular. You'll have increased PMS. So you might get really irritable and cranky leading up to, or you could have PMD, which is the more low mood, depressive type PMS. Okay? You'll see mood swings, headaches, anxiety and panic attacks, weight gain, hair loss again, cold hands or feet, trouble sleeping, lowered energy, memory problems, and that is about it. So they're your key high estrogen symptoms. Again, we can get this tested or go by those symptoms if you are experiencing a lot of those. There's so much that we can do to help lower estrogen. You know, your liver is what detoxifies excess hormones. So when we work with hormones, it's really important to address liver function as well. And you'll see a lot with genetics that there is often liver or methylation issues going on for the majority of us, okay? So when we are addressing hormones, we not only address hormones, but we'll address your adrenal function, we'll make sure your thyroid's working well. We need to make sure that your gut is working well, because if you've got gut issues like candida, that's going to affect your hormones negatively. And what else? We will also work on helping to better manage those symptoms that you're experiencing. So we provide key nutrients, key herbs that help to modulate hormonal function, but also adrenals, thyroid, and making sure that you are feeling as well as you possibly can. So, you know, if mood or fatigue are issues, then we'll also focus on working on that. Okay guys, that is enough for today. There you have it. We have hypothyroidism, high estrogen, PCOS and menopause for today. So the two key things that we were talking about were hormonal imbalances and thyroid function. It's really important to know these things so that we don't just sit and suffer thinking, oh, it's normal, everyone has to go through it. You know, there are always things to do to help yourself better manage your life and get the best quality of life you can possibly get. Alright guys, have a great week, and I hope that you learned something new today, and I'll talk to you again next week. Bye!